Welcome to the Seamus Evans Show. I wanted to make this episode because something has been playing on my mind for 5 years. 5 years. I've been sitting on this notion that motivational speakers are wankers. So I've never called myself a motivational speaker, even though technically that's exactly what I am. I motivate, I inspire through a series of keynotes, workshops, presentations, you name it. The end result of my presentation is people feeling motivated, feeling inspired, feeling empowered, and changing the way they look at themselves to navigate, hey, these are the cards I've been dealt with in life. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing or a good thing. I can manipulate my own future, and I am the author of my own narrative, and I control my own destiny. The reason why I think motivational speakers are just full of it is a few reasons. One, if you're not asking for the advice and it's unsolicited and someone is in your face telling you how to live, there's an instant block, an instant wall that says, bro, back off, man. Stop telling me what to do. People don't like to be told what to do. I don't. The moment someone tells me what to do, I instantly want to push back. I don't like authority. I never like being told what to do. And if somebody presents themselves or projects themselves as perfect and that they know all the answers, well, then their life, their resume, their story, their background has to be of ultimate achievement, ultimate success. They must be a billionaire. If you're coming at it from a place of, here's something I found that is really helpful for others. Like, for example, life coaches. Don't get me started. I cannot handle the title life coach. I remember when I first started out in radio, I was just the nothing guy. I was the guy who was handing out the icy cold cans of Coke. I was a casual promotions person. And another one of my colleagues, another casual promotions guy, he was a certified life coach. He was a few years older than me. And I'm like, bro, what the hell have you got to offer me? Like, who the hell do you think you are that you can be a life coach and offer some ultimate wisdom? The moment I hear motivational speaker or life coach, my back goes up and I'm like, oh my gosh, spare me, please. However, I am a motivational speaker. So I've always battled with that title because there are a lot of frauds, fakesters, people who present themselves as one thing and live a completely different life. Also, there's just so much around people rejecting the wisdom, the notion, and the formula of how these people live their lives. And so many others that are like, that's ridiculous. The other thing is, so many professional motivational speakers charge astronomical amounts, like a lot of money. I remember hearing that a Tony Robbins conference ticket costs like between $6,000 and $10,000. And when you're presented with that cost, you're like, for what? What are you going to tell me that is possibly going to change my life that's worth $6,000? I think there are a lot of really good life coaches out there that do really good. They understand the formula and they understand how to work with somebody who might be struggling with something. I personally believe that psychology is stronger than life coach. My partner is a psychologist. My sister is a psychologist. And my sister was in university for 10 years, a decade. My partner was studying for 7. A life coach, it's a 6-week course online. No, I am not taking advice from someone who did a 6-week course online. No. Forget about it, man. Especially in my industry, like I am a motivational speaker. I'm a professional speaker. I'm at conferences. I'm in schools. I'm at corporate teams, corporate offices. Like, that's what I do. And there are so many other people just like me who I'm like, shut up. You read it out of a book and you're just repeating it because you liked it. Anyway, it really I really struggle to fit into the category of a motivational speaker, even though that is what I do. Because I just feel as though there are a lot of people who prey on the vulnerable. They prey on the weak and they take advantage of them. That's what I don't like. I don't like the fact that if someone really requires that hard truth, that line of questioning, that formulaic lifestyle laid out, there's something inside of me that doesn't like the fact that they're charging so much for it. They're already vulnerable. If they are rich and fantastic, they want to progress their careers and continue being successful, great. That actually really works. What bothers me is when I feel somebody who is just taking advantage of someone who is sad, someone who is depressed, someone who is down, and convincing them that giving them money for their program will help. I don't like that. This is why I've never gone down the life coach path. I very easily could have, and probably could have made a lot of money doing it, especially with teenagers who are neurodiverse. I've had offers. I've had parents reach out to me, knocking down my door, saying, "What do you charge to just spend time with my son? I will pay you whatever it is just to hang out with him for an hour." And I'm like, I can't do that. There's something about that work that doesn't sit with me. That's not what I do. I'm not into taking someone's savings or even their NDIS funding. No. Sometimes I will offer only exclusively and only to people I feel. I will have a Zoom call with that student or that child with the parents in the Zoom as well, or a phone call with the parents' permission, and do life coaching stuff, but my own opinions, my own advice, and just to champion them, just to champion along. I don't charge for that. That's not something I would charge for. I think it's weird if people do. I just do. I think it's strange. I also know of a lot of people who strategically put hypnotic tactics in their keynote. In their presentation, they use hypnosis to manipulate the crowd and manipulate the audience and actually control them for their own financial advantage. And I don't know, man, there's just something about it that doesn't feel right. If you've got a natural gift for helping people and you do that for a job, I think it's very important that you are financially compensated for that at what you consider your value, at what you're valued at. I think that's very respectable. But when you add an element of sleazy salesman tactics and on-selling to your already loyal clients, it just gives me the ick. And navigating my way as a professional speaker, strategically, I use the words keynote speaker or professional speaker because I just don't like being titled motivational speaker. However, I have had to update my website and I refer to myself as a motivational speaker purely because SEO purposes. If somebody is trying to book a speaker and they think, oh, who do we get? What do they call them? They're a motivational speaker. Might put that in. Motivational speaker. All right. So for SEO purposes, I've actually given myself the title. Only once have I ever said when someone says, so mate, what do you do for a living? I've said, oh, I'm a motivational speaker. I don't like it, but you can't deny what you are. Okay. I've had to come to terms with this. You are what you are. And if that's what you're really good at, then you should do it. Whatever it's called. Who cares? Reject whatever society thinks about it or what you think society thinks about it, and you just have to do what you're good at. I have really, over the last 5 years, I've really honed my ability to conduct a crowd and convey really important, powerful messaging. And I cherry pick some really great, powerful stuff and I inject it into my keynote because I really want to help people. I feel it. I at the core of me, the reason I do what I do is because I want to help individuals. I don't like it when I hear somebody who puts a lid on their own potential or allows themselves to not pursue a dream. I was a child who had a dream of being a TV presenter. With Tourette's, ADHD, failing school, I would wag school and I would stay home and I would ride my unicycle and I would juggle because I hated going to school. But I wanted to be a TV presenter and I made that dream happen. It happened. I pursued it with everything I've got, and I could have used every single excuse to not do it. But I backed myself, I took a leap of faith, and I pursued it relentlessly. Same with my radio career. Same thing. I was a television personality, and I said, nah, I'm going to quit. I'm going to have no money, and I am going to just give everything to radio because I want to be a breakfast radio announcer. That was my dream. So I did it, and I struggled, and I suffered, and I went through, and I wanted to quit over and over, but I did it. Then after my radio career, I was like, you know what? I have learned how to entertain people, but for surface related stuff. Like in my radio shows, I would just talk about whatever the news had on the front page of the newspaper and make some sort of joke about it. It wasn't really fulfilling. It was quite a selfish pursuit to be famous or to make jokes or make people like me, maybe even. I don't know. But I felt it wasn't of substance and I didn't like it. And I really wanted to make a difference. And I said, I am going to become a professional speaker and share my stories in schools. And in my mind, it was just going to be classes of 30. Over the last 5 years, I've spoken to hundreds of thousands of students in cohorts of thousands of people. I have spoken in large conference stages with hundreds, if not thousands, of professionals, much older and successful than I. And I share my story. I always make a habit or a conscious decision to never come at it from, I've got the answers, guys. Listen to me, all right? I'm smarter. I am wiser. You need to listen up. I never come at it from that. I only ever share my story as engaging as possibly, as entertaining as possible, and anything I find that is inspiring to me and I feel can inspire others, I will inject into my keynote, but I'll never claim it as my own. If there's ever a story that I find inspiring, if there's ever a quote that someone has said, I'll always reference them or share what book I got out of it and what it meant to me. I will never try and claim something as my own because I've been in those crowds where someone on stage is so up themselves and full of their own ego, and they try and project that they are better than you and that they have the answers and you need to listen. I used to see it a lot in stand-up comedy when people, just because they had the microphone, they expected the audience to listen to them. Bro, no, you're there for the audience. The audience is not there for you. So in my presenting style, I've always come from a place of, I'm grateful to be on this stage and I don't deserve their attention. I need to win their attention. I need to win them over. And I have found my methods of doing that are just talking about myself, which sounds weird. And no one really likes someone who talks about themselves, but I am not an academic and I don't have a degree and I'm not a doctor in anything or really an expert in anything other than my own story. And I have found the best way human beings relate is authenticity and vulnerability. So if you're able to stand up on stage and be vulnerable and share your own experiences, your faults and your strengths. And I think admitting fault sometimes is really, really powerful. People don't want to do it because it might make them look bad or people might think less of them. But I'm telling you, in my experiences, if you have the courage to stand up there and admit that you did something wrong and the lesson you learned from it and then how you applied that lesson elsewhere, that is so inspiring. That is so powerful and so empowering to people who are listening because we all make mistakes. We all second guess ourselves. We all make mistakes, but not a lot of us want to share them. So if you have the confidence to actually share that mistake that you made and what you learned from it, man, that can make a really serious impact in other people's lives. And doing the work that I do, I always kind of come at it from a place of I'm here for them. my goal is, and I say this before every presentation, and I do believe in God. I am a Christian and I pray a lot. And before I get up on stage, I always pray and I say, God, I pray that I at least make an impact on one person's life. Just one person. As long as if someone is feeling sad, if someone is feeling down, if someone is full of self-doubt or doesn't feel like they can achieve anything in this world, I pray that they're the ones I make a difference in their lives. Because I don't know, I just found like that was my mission. And I just, you know, in the Batman movie, how he's like, if you're good at something, never do it for free. That was a bad Heath Ledger Joker impression. But you have to come to terms with who you are, and what you're good at. And you just have to embrace it. So I'm currently in the journey of embracing a motivational speaker. What I don't like about motivational speakers is that there's no follow through a lot of the times. And I've had to work really hard on my keynote superpower. I've had to put a lot of effort into, after this presentation, here are some things you can do on Monday morning. Here is something you can do on Tuesday morning. When you've forgotten this feeling you've got right now whilst I'm on stage, here's something that you can do that's really easy, that's a baby step in the right direction of the mission that I'm trying to encourage you to go down. Because motivation is just a feeling. It's just how you feel, okay? And sometimes when someone on stage is so hypnotic, they can manipulate you to feeling a certain way. I grew up in the church in Hillsong, and I would witness someone on stage and they make you feel incredible and you look up to them. A lot of motivational speakers can do the same. They're hypnotic, and it's like they're an conductor of an orchestra. But what happens when that feeling dies? What happens tomorrow morning when you wake up? Do you still feel motivated? No, it goes away. And the speaker up on stage just took heaps of your money. So it's so important. If you're going to a conference and you're listening to a speaker, and they might fall into the category of the cheesy 1980s motivational speaker style, be really careful. Be extremely skeptical of what they're saying. And really try and ask yourself, are they there for me or are they there for them? There's a couple of different types of speakers, by the way. So I'm a keynote speaker. So I get booked at conferences to deliver a keynote. I don't sell anything on stage. I don't forward sell or I don't upsell any of my offerings. Okay. I don't do that because that's not why you're there. You're there to be booked and paid to deliver your expertise, your 45 minutes, your presentation. Okay. It's like it's like a code of you don't forward sell anything after that because you've already been paid by your client. Then there's platform speaking. Now, these are the ones that I strongly encourage skepticism around because it's a free event. It's a free event, or even sometimes paid, but it's free. And on the stage, they give you a little sample, and then they just upsell you to a workshop, to a weekend, to a book, to a program, okay? That's where they make their money. So they put a lot of effort into getting, and it's a numbers game. They look at it as a numbers game. If we put it all out and 1,000 people say yes, maybe 500 turn up, and you give them a little bit of value and then upsell them chronically for some ridiculous price for a weekend of some program that's going to skyrocket your life, revitalize your brain, completely transform and run through some holistic BS, okay? BS. But that's why they're there. That's why it's a free event. Nothing is free. They bring you in, they give you a little bit of sugar, and while you're eating the sugar, they have their other hand here and they go bang and they catch you and then they squeeze all of your money and say, trust me, if you give me this money, you will be a better person, ultimate success. You will achieve this, greatness, unlock your full potential, etc., etc., etc. This, in my opinion, is preying on the vulnerable. No good. If you're in a vulnerable state, see a psychologist. It's 10 times cheaper, like 1,000,000 times cheaper. Okay. Get a mental health care plan and get into a psychologist's office. That's where you should be focusing. If you are already really successful and you have money and you are not vulnerable, but you want to double down on your success because you are career-minded, career-driven, and you want to propel your own professional development and personal development, if you've got the cash to waste, you can explore it. But I've dipped my toes in these areas and I'm like, you're full of it, man. You're full of it. I also think if there's just so much of this stuff you can learn yourself. Like, I'm sorry, but the resources that are out there, all you have to do is, if you want to go old school, walk into a Dimmicks, walk into a QBD, a bookstore, a library, for goodness sake, and go into the self-help department and check out some of the books. I have read so many business books, professional development books, self-help books, personal development, you name it, biographies, everything I can get my hands on, because I like it. I feel good at it while I'm doing it, and I learn things. It's great. It's always good to invest in yourself and your own development. That's where you should go. You shouldn't sign up to some weekend course with some unknown life coach. I'm probably going to get so much hate for this because, man, I scroll through my social media feeds and I see life coaches and I'm like, spare me your BS. But I've been itching to talk about it. I've been itching to admit it. I've been itching to share it because I don't want to be painted with that brush. Even though on my website it says I'm a motivational speaker. I have to, right? Because I am. I think maybe because the term motivational speaker was quite big in the 80s and early 90s. And there were a lot of fraudsters. Honestly, here's why it's dangerous. When you're on stage and you know how to effectively deliver information with passion, with conviction, with tonality, with actions, you have a lot of power. You have a lot of influence. A lot. And yeah, you can get someone to sign up to whatever program you're pushing. That's why I think it's really dangerous. Because these people, they know that they have that power and they abuse it. I know that when I'm on stage, I have that power. Absolutely. I see it in the crowd. I see it in my audience. But power corrupts. And every time I have had temptations to create some sort of thing that I can sell afterwards, I just can't do it. It stands against why I am doing the work that I do. It stands against my morals, my personal morals, I feel, and it stands against my mission. It doesn't align with it. It's not a part of my core value system. And everybody has a price, right? I always believe that. Everyone has a price. You're only one step away from doing something you never thought you would. But if someone throws a very large dollar figure at you, it's more than likely you're probably going to do it, right? I've been bought before, and I hated it. Oh man, I remember it was a job opportunity that my heart wasn't in, but they threw such a large dollar figure at me. I couldn't say no to it. I wrote down pros and cons, and the pros was so much higher. But my gut was telling me the whole time, this is not right. And I was doing it just for the money. And I was convincing myself that it was right and that it was the smart thing to do. That job did not last long. It didn't even finish out the year. And it really, I learned such a valuable lesson. Don't get me wrong. It was very helpful. That money was really helpful. I set up a bit. But I was miserable. I was so unhappy. And you have to ask yourself, at what cost, right? Well, there was a cost. It was a big cost. It was a big price tag. And you paid for it. And still today, that was like 2 years ago. Still today, I'm annoyed at myself for accepting it. I'm annoyed at myself that I got bought out. I'm annoyed at myself that I sold out and that I could be bought. It was really frustrating. And even though prior to that, I was like, I will never be bought out. And I did because the money was too attractive. It was a great lesson to learn because it really rammed home, hey, money is not everything. In fact, you should never make a decision on money. You should only ever make a decision of if it's right for you and make sure you're duly compensated. But money is always second to the mission. The mission is first. If it does not align with your mission, say no. But we're all human beings, right? Everyone has a price. My mother is like a really good person to the point where it annoys people of how good she is and her values and her morals and how she cares about people. And I remember I said to my mum, I was like, hey, but for $1 billion, would you kill someone? Or whatever it was. I can't remember the situation. She's like, no, I would never do that. And I was like 20 at the time. And I'm like, sign me up. Where do I sign? But it's funny, the older I get and the more money I've spent, the more money I've earned. And that horrible feeling when you feel like you have been bought. It's not a good feeling. So thankfully, those hypotheticals were never real. So I've had to come to the terms with the fact that I have to call myself a motivational speaker, even though I don't like some of the negative connotation that comes with it. I have to relinquish that and I have to not care about that because I am what I am, okay? And I'm very good at it. So I have to embrace it and wear it. And if people look at me strange or they judge me, fine. They're going to do that anyway. Whether I was an electrician or whether I was an accountant or a lawyer, who cares? People judge. And I just have to let it go and embrace my role in society, what I'm really good at and what my mission is. Mission is number one. My cause, my core value, my goal. So being called something, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So if you like this, would you like to sign up for my 14-day absolute extravagant life transformation where you get to hang out with me one-on-one? We're going to go through all of these different... Joking. I hope you enjoyed. If you like this podcast, if you like watching it, or if you've listened to it, I'd love to hear from you. Give me a follow on my socials. I've got Instagram, The Seamus Evans Show, TikTok, Seamus Evans, Facebook, Seamus Evans, LinkedIn, Seamus Evans, YouTube, Seamus Evans, on Spotify, etc., 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 etc. Or you can check out my website, SeamusEvans.com. If you'd like me to book, if you'd like me to speak at your event, your school, your business, whatever it might be, get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for listening.